Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, Avi's barber, located on Toohey next to New York Bagel and Bialy, and we welcome you to Northtown News Magazine.
Hello, hello. I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Bienvenidos a Northtown News Magazine. Yo soy Marty Levinson. Quiero cortarte el pelo.
Hi, this is Northtown News Magazine, and I'm Marty Levinson.
Hey, no you're not.
I object!
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, please stay tuned to the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet home Chicago. 224 446. Come on, baby.
Hi there, I'm the real Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
We've got 13 interviews going down today, and 12 of the 13 people are running for political office. So, I can now rest my Q-tips for one interview and talk with somebody whose job is to actually try to rid the system of whatever corruption might exist. And I'd like to thank Kelly Tarrant, for helping arrange his visit, the Inspector General of the City of Chicago, Faisial Khan. How are you?
Nice to meet you, Avi. Thanks for having me here.
First of all, a pleasure, and I'm so glad you could make it.
Thank you.
And I've been following and cheering for you, and I give you a lot of credit for trying to keep the office open when the city's trying to basically disembowel you.
Well said. Well said.
So, why don't you give us a little background on the job, a little background on yourself, and what kind of things you do and what you look into?
Sure. So, Avi, I'm a 8-year prosecutor in New York City. Then I became the Inspector General in New York for a few years, and then I shifted out to Chicago. And at the same time in my shift, this legislative Inspector General position opened here in Chicago, and I put in, and here I am as the new legislative Inspector General of Chicago. Before I got the job, this job didn't exist. So for the history of City Council, there has never been oversight by any particular law enforcement body or individual. And you know that the city already has an Inspector General. He is Joe Ferguson. He has oversight over every other city employee, including the mayor, but City Council. City Council wrote the law that way. And then finally, after 31 aldermen went to jail in 30 years, they decided they needed their own Inspector General. And here I am.
And by the way, it should have been a whole lot more than 31, that I can tell you.
It may very well be.
And I want to wish you luck. And, probably, I don't even want to guess how many people in City Council do interesting things.
Well, I can tell you we have over 60 active investigations right now. We take over 100 complaints a year from all citizens of this city. They range from simple discourtesy by an alderman in his or her office to allegations of bribery, pay-to-play, fraud, theft, corruption, serious allegations that we end up referring to the U.S. Attorney's Office or to the FBI or to other law enforcement agencies for them to continue our investigations. So there's some very serious allegations that come into our office that we need to address and that we're constantly addressing. But the one issue that's really prevalent right now, Avi, is the fact that we have an election 3 weeks from now, as you noted in your opening.
Yeah.
And it started with 250 people running for about 53, 54 elected positions, and we're down to 180 candidates now. So are you going to do all 180 interviews?
Actually, I pretty much, well, no, I'd like to, but the truth is, I have to winnow things. By the way, thank you, Older Track and Mike Boucher. Great service. I love checking it out every day, even though I know how to get the stuff on my own. But I try to see, somebody's got to be wanting to try. That's a big factor. Like this guy, Don Gordon, running in 49, who refuses to raise any money. And, he's going to run against Joe Moore, who can raise $500,000 if he wants to. One of your favorite people. I'm not going to say a name. I actually tagged him in Facebook when he took a rip at our mutual friend over here.
Disappointing.
So
disappointing behavior.
I really was. I started joking with him that he's the new Tom Keene. To give you, see, you're not originally from Chicago. Tom Keene was Mayor Daley's floor leader. And, he was wearing a striped outfit himself at one time.
Explains a lot.
Yeah.
So we've got 184 candidates. And, what do people do when they need to get elected? They need to raise money, just as you noted that Mr. Gordon is running without raising public funds, but Mr. Moore could raise $500,000 if that's what he wanted to do. And so campaign finance is incredibly important because, as the New York Times just noted a week ago, think of campaign financing as the gateway drug to bribes. Wow. It's an interesting proposition, and it's a legitimate one, because what happens when an individual takes money from someone else? Well, their interests divert from the taxpayers to perhaps that special interest, and that goes up from there. And so if you just took 184 candidates and assumed they had $100,000 each, you're talking about $18.4 million alone just for this aldermanic election upcoming. And Avi, candidates have far more than $100,000. So we took
a lot more. If you have $100,000, you're not even running an average campaign or close to it.
Yeah. So we took a very low number just to give you that idea. And so part of my responsibility is to review campaign finance contributions. And we had a big problem with City Council last year when they tried to take that power away from us. They decided that they were going to take campaign finance oversight and give it back to the Board of Ethics, who previously had it. Big problems with that. The Board of Ethics hadn't done any investigations in campaign financing since 2009. They actually publicly declared that they didn't want that power back. They did not want to be investigators in campaign finance. The law prescribes them to be adjudicators. So who are their investigative arms? Well, it's the Inspectors General offices, myself and Joe Ferguson's office. Mr. Ferguson's office covers the mayor, the treasurer, and the city clerk as elected positions, and I'm responsible for all 50 aldermanic wards. So, as you know, you can only take $1,500 as an alderman or an aldermanic candidate from someone doing business with the city, wants to do business with the city, or in fact, who has done business with the city in the past. So you're capped at that amount, and you can't circumvent it. So I can't say, Avi, here, take $1,500 from me, quietly give it to Alderman X, and I'll give him $1,500 too. That would be illegal because we're circumventing the law and aggregating our funds that way. So what we have to do then is examine each and every contribution to see who's giving what. And just to give you an idea, the Board of Ethics did a review of 2013, and they just referred us 420 cases.
Wow.
Possible instances of campaign finance fraud.
And by the way, I can't say this on air right now, much as I'd like to, but I have a story for you afterwards.
All ears.
And it might be 100% legal, but of course what's legal and what's ethical and what's moral and what's honest and what's in the best interests of the citizens of the city of Chicago are completely different things.
Well said again.
Thank you.
Well said. So we're in the process of looking through these allegations as well as actively looking at our cases. But one of our biggest problems, unfortunately, is the lack of institutional support we're getting from the city. The mayor's office has decided not to assist us in any way. And City Council, as you've been following in the news and you see online and unfortunately in other sources, that they've taken an anti-OLIG position. And that's troubling because oversight is here to stay. Their oversight is needed. It's necessary. As I noted, how many aldermen have gone to jail in 30 years?
31.
You have a problem.
A good start.
Well, no, honestly, and I love to joke, but there are some good aldermen here. There's no question about that. There are some good aldermen, good, honest folks here. There's some great candidates that you've been meeting.
Yeah.
And, I'm rooting for everybody, and I hope they have a wonderful career in public service. But they have to understand that as being in public service, somebody has to look over their shoulder. Somebody has to protect taxpayer interests to make sure that they're not using that money for other purposes other than protecting taxpayers, like getting their sidewalks shoveled, the streets cleaned, and getting the pension reforms in, and getting schools opened or closed. That's what these aldermen and anyone in public service is supposed to be doing, not focusing on special interests who may have given them a little extra money than they should have. So campaign financing and oversight in general are just vital components of an honest and ethical government. And so anyone who fights that, you have to ask yourself, why are they fighting that? And when voters have that chance, they should really think about that before they cast that ballot.
It's important, and not only that, but it's interesting because when I was looking, and I wish I could follow. I'm only one person; I can't read everything from everybody. But when I read like Tribune questionnaires about the Inspector General and all the rest of it, and I see the aldermen telling the Tribune, yes, we're in favor of it. That's not how they voted.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it. I understand the discussion about merging the two Inspector General's offices because from a fiscal perspective, it almost makes sense. But the devil's always in the details, right?
Yep.
And just as to give you an example, right now, I can't take an anonymous complaint. So if you wanted to file a complaint, Avi, you would have to come in, I'd have to swear you under oath, and you'd have to sign your name, address, and date of birth under penalty of perjury.
By the way, in my case, I'll be happy to.
I appreciate that. But can you imagine if somebody called 911 and they said, I have a crime to report, it's ongoing right now, and the police officer said, well, sorry, I'm not going to do a thing about it until you come in and give me your name, address, and date of birth. Defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it?
And as a matter of fact, the police I run my community policing meetings here. The police, and not just here, but the FBI, everybody has all these anonymous tip lines.
Of course.
To nail people because people are legitimately afraid and should be.
And the most frustrating part is that the Inspector General's office does take anonymous complaints, except when City Council created this office, they made sure that we could not take anonymous complaints. And the only argument for that is self-preservation. No other reason.
Exactly right. As a matter of fact, I want to tell you something. When my alderman shows up at the CAPS meetings, there's an awful lot of people that are of the opinion that they do it to see if there's anybody talking against them and want to make sure that they're intimidated.
And you don't need to know the name, Avi, of, sometimes a fact pattern will help an alderman remember, oh, that's Joe who came into my office and had a big fight with me. You don't need to give out a name for them to know who you're talking about. So these are important issues that need to be resolved before you merge our two offices. And even in this discussion right now, they're still not taking anonymous complaints away. So the devil's always in the details, and you have to take away self-preservation. You have to focus on real oversight, real open government, and one standard for all. And when we're there, it'll be a wonderful success. But unfortunately, we're still far away from there. And it's just funny that, as you noted, while everyone claims to be ethics warriors 6 weeks before an election, 3 weeks before an election, where were they for the last 3 years? When they had opportunity after opportunity to strengthen the law, to fix it, so constituents and taxpayers could have more confidence in the system, and yet acted in the opposite way and voted against things.
And let's face it, the day after the election, they're going to go right back to being negative. That's their problem with me is I have a memory, and I don't usually mess up too much. So, that comes from years of baseball statistics when I was a kid.
Excellent. Well, you know what? I hope constituents have memories, and I hope voters have memories too. And these are important issues that they need to think about. We've got a lot of issues before us in this election, right? You've got the pension issue. You've got the schools issue. You've got streets. You've got middle class needs. What is a component in all of that? Ethics. You need to be able to vote for someone you trust, who will actually stand up for you and fight for what you believe in because you voted for that person. So my job and my staff's job, and which we're working hard at, is to let voters know who they can and cannot trust. And that's what we put out our semi-annual reports for them to see. And that's why we're constantly seeking greater support from people like you, from from the government, from the aldermen, from the mayor's office, so we can keep fulfilling our tasks, so we can help each and every one of you.
And that's important. And as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to have you back on a regular basis to talk about these things, and maybe even I can file some complaints.
You are
people
welcome to, and I do encourage anyone to. You can reach us on our website, oligchicago.com. You can call our office, Facebook, Twitter, email, it's all there. So we actively take complaints. We've taken a lot of complaints so far this year already, and we're going to investigate each and every one, and that's what's required of us to do.
And I'm going to add one in about half a minute after we're off the air.
I brought a notepad, so I'll be ready to go.
Cool. First of all, I want to thank Kelly Tieran very much for getting us together, and I want to wish her a lot of luck in her endeavors, and I want to wish you a lot of luck too.
Thank you, sir.
And Faisial Khan, the Inspector General of the City of Chicago. That's the official...
Legislative Inspector General.
Thank you. I know I didn't get that exactly right. And I also want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hirsch, who actually is in theory one of the... I think this is a Sonny Hirsch election special. So lots of stuff before Election Day. Stay tuned. Check out our website. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.